This is a real story of a father and daughter that will send shivers down your spine. No one in this world could have imagined that a father could do something like this. What do you think should be done to such people? Now, let's get into the story. The movie starts with a girl named Sarah. She wants to go to a party at her friend's house, but her father, Don, does not give her permission. Sarah tells her mother that she was already allowed to go, but her mother says, "It's not a problem, you can go some other time." This makes Sarah very angry, and she storms off to her room. In her room, we see Sarah's elder sister. That night, without her family's knowledge, Sarah sneaks out to the party with her best friend, Chris. Meanwhile, her mother knocks on the door and realizes that Sarah is not in her room. She immediately informs her husband. Upon hearing this, Sarah's father becomes extremely aggressive. Sarah spends the entire night with Chris and returns home in the morning. Her father gets furious, scolds her harshly, and yells at her. Her mother also arrives at the scene. Angrily, Sarah storms off to her room again. In the next scene, Sarah is in her room when her mother and sister visit her. They talk for a while, and then Sarah says, "In 3 months, I'll be 18. I have a childhood friend, and I will leave home to live with him and enjoy my life." Her father, Don, is standing outside the room and secretly overhears the conversation. After this, he goes to the basement and opens a secret room door. He decides to wait for 3 months until Sarah turns 18. The scene then skips directly to 3 months later. Sarah is talking to Chris on the phone. Her sister is not at home, and her mother has gone to the market. Only Sarah and her father are in the house. Don then tells Sarah that he needs help shifting a box in the basement. Sarah agrees, and they both go downstairs. Once they are there, Don opens the secret room door. Sarah is shocked to see that there is a hidden room in their basement. Don then takes her inside and traps her. He locks the door and leaves. Sarah screams for help, but Don feels no pity and ignores her cries. She then tries to pick the lock using a hairpin. Although she fails to open the door, the lights start blinking and suddenly go off, stopping the ventilation in the room. Sarah then checks the box that her father brought into the room. Inside, she finds some essential items. Those items in the box help Sarah survive in the room. She then starts screaming for help through the ventilation window. Her voice reaches outside, and Don hears her cries. In response, he closes the ventilation window as well. The room is soundproof, so no one outside can hear anything from within. Meanwhile, Sarah's mother becomes extremely worried about her and starts searching for her everywhere. However, Don remains completely relaxed, acting as if nothing has happened. The next day, Sarah tries to open the door again, but the lights automatically blink, turn off, and then turn on again. At that moment, Don arrives. Sarah tries to push him away and escape, but the basement door is locked. Don catches her, drags her back into the secret room, and yells at her. He tells her, "If you listen to me and obey what I say, I will take you out of this room sooner." But Sarah refuses to comply. This angers Don again, and he forces himself on her. After this, Sarah's condition worsens. She starts having vomiting episodes. A week later, the police begin an investigation to search for Sarah. Don tells them Sarah ran away from home because she wanted to enjoy life away from us. But Sarah's mother insists she may have said that, but she never actually planned to do so. The police officer responds, "We should wait. Sarah might try to contact us." Meanwhile, Sarah is deeply hurt and depressed over what her father has done to her. She feels hopeless. Chris, worried about Sarah, comes to her house to check on her. Don tells him the same lie, that Sarah ran away with her childhood friend. 21 days pass and Sarah turns 18. It is her birthday. Don brings a cake and candles to her. He tells her to blow out the candles. Sarah blows them out. Don reminds her once again, "If you listen to everything I say, I will get you out of here sooner." In the next scene, Don gives Sarah a dress and asks, "Do you have any wishes? I will fulfill them for you." Sarah responds, "My only wish is to leave this place." To this, Don replies, "That will take some more time." Then Sarah asks for a TV and a watch. Don forces himself on her once again. The next day, he brings her the TV and watch as requested. In the next scene, Sarah starts crafting a weapon using a food stick. Sarah calls Don closer to her, but he understands her intentions. Realizing she is up to something, he beats her badly, breaking her hand. A year passes. Now, Sarah is pregnant. As time goes on, she starts experiencing labor pains and eventually gives birth to a baby girl. However, Dawn does not feel happy seeing Sarah's daughter. For years pass. Sarah's mother deeply misses her and still searches for her. Meanwhile, Sarah becomes pregnant again. Dawn tells his wife that he received a promotion at work. Sarah's mother suggests hiring an investigator to find their daughter, but Dawn refuses and walks away. In the next scene, Sarah and her daughter are seen happily watching TV, something that helps them pass their boring time. A few days later, Sarah gives birth to a baby boy. One day, her daughter falls seriously ill with a high fever. Dawn brings medicine for her. That same day, Sarah and Dawn get into another argument. Meanwhile, Chris comes back to Sarah's house, still searching for her. There, he meets Sarah's sister. Chris tells her everything Dawn had told him, that Sarah ran away with her childhood friend. Sarah's sister replies, "Our father may have either hidden Sarah somewhere, or she might have run away." In the next scene, Sarah becomes pregnant for the third time. Later, Dawn and his wife argue about Sarah. During the fight, Sarah's sister confronts Dawn, saying, "You are always angry with Sarah." Upset, Sarah's mother leaves the house. Dawn follows her, trying to convince her. At that moment, his basement keys fall from his pocket. Sarah's sister picks them up and decides to check the basement. Inside, she finds several unusual items. She is confused about why they are there. Just then, Dawn arrives and sends her away. Later, Sarah gives birth to another baby boy. Sarah then pleads with Dawn, "Take my third child outside and give him to my mother." Hearing this, Dawn gets an idea. He quietly places the baby outside their house. Sarah's mother hears the baby's cries and rushes outside. Along with the baby, she finds a note. The note reads, "Mom, I am Sarah. This is my son. My financial condition is not good, so I cannot raise him. Please take care of him." Sarah's mother decides to adopt the baby. Nearby, Dawn finds another note. This one reads, "Daddy locked me in the basement." Reading this, Dawn becomes furious. Dawn wants to punish Sarah again, so he forces himself on her. Now, the scene shifts to several years later. Sarah's daughter and son have grown up. One day, Dawn looks at Sarah's daughter with bad intentions. Sarah understands his evil thoughts and becomes extremely worried for her daughter, especially because her daughter has asthma. One day, Sarah notices water leaking from the roof. She thinks she can break the wet roof and call for help. She makes a small hole in the roof and, at night, she shines a light through it. A man outside notices the light. Unfortunately, that man reports it to Dawn. He tells Dawn, "I saw a light coming from your basement hole." Hearing this, Dawn gets furious. He goes to the basement and beats Sarah badly. He hits her so hard that she suffers a miscarriage. Her baby dies. Dawn takes the dead baby and buries it somewhere. Sarah's children are heartbroken. In the next scene, Sarah asks Dawn about the baby she had given to her mother. Dawn replies he is going to play in the next tournament. Hearing this, Sarah's son says, "I also want to go outside and play." He then asks, "When will we ever go outside? When will we play outside?" Dawn responds, "When your mother behaves well with me, I will take you outside. Then you can play too." Sarah, wanting her children to go outside, apologizes to Dawn. After Dawn leaves, her children get angry with her. They ask, "Why did you say sorry to him? What did we say that made you apologize?" Sarah replies, "I am only trying to protect you." Sarah feels deeply sad. She also misses Chris because he was the last person she met before being locked in this room. She had spent a lot of good time with him. Later, Sarah's children apologize to her for misbehaving. At that moment, Sarah tells them the truth about Dawn's real nature. After hearing everything, both children are shocked. They are so scared that Sarah's daughter suffers an asthma attack. When Dawn finds out that Sarah told the children the truth, he beats her again. But this time, Sarah's son stops Dawn. Wanting to punish them, Dawn leaves the basement and turns off the lights. Days pass. Dawn loses his job. His savings slowly start to disappear. One day, Dawn's wife confronts him and asks, "Where are you spending all your savings?" Sarah breaks the ventilation. In the next scene, Dawn receives a notice from the bank to vacate the house because he hasn't repaid the insurance money he took. Frustrated and desperate, Dawn decides to kill Sarah and their 2 children because he can no longer afford to take care of them. He plans to release smoke from his car into the basement through the ventilation. But just then, Sarah's son, the one she had given to her mother, arrives at the house. Because of this, Dawn stops his plan. After many years, Sarah's daughter suffers another asthma attack. Sarah begs Don to take their daughter to the hospital, but he refuses. Seeing his daughter's worsening condition, Don finally agrees. However, he only takes Sarah and their daughter with him. He tells their son to stay in the basement. As soon as Sarah steps outside the basement, memories of her past come rushing back. They take her daughter to the hospital, and after much struggle, she survives. At the hospital, a female doctor gives Sarah a form to fill out. Sarah doesn't want to return to the basement, so she spills water on the form. Don leaves to get another form. Seeing an opportunity, Sarah runs to the female doctor and hugs her. Just then, Don returns. Sarah pleads with the doctor, "Please help me." The doctor and the hospital staff realize something is wrong. Luckily, a police officer is also present. The officer arrests Don. Don confesses everything. The police rescue Sarah's son from the basement. Sarah's mother, seeing the truth, is heartbroken. Don is sent to prison. Sarah, now free, lives happily with her sister and mother. Her children are also happy. Chris comes to meet Sarah. He is still unmarried. In the final scene, Sarah and Chris go on a long drive together. This is how this movie ends. Thank you for watching our movie recap. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing for more great content. Your support means a lot to us. Have a wonderful day.